Now, people believe there are about 20,000 illegal buildings in East Jerusalem, in Arab neighborhoods. Now, they weren't born today. They weren't born in one day. 20,000 illegal structures is something that is a neglect of over 40 years. I don't know the answer, but it'd be interesting to hear what Mayor Bloomberg would do if somebody built an illegal structure in the center of Central Park, or in anywhere else in New York, or anywhere in London, or any other city. And by the way, the Jewish population, when people don't obey the law, they get punished by the law, and it's justified to do so. And sometimes I hear the world saying the following: with the Jewish population has to obey the law. The Arab population doesn't have to obey the law, and that's fine. And they mustn't pay the consequences. So I expect and respect the fact that the municipality has to do a better job in planning, better do in serving, and we're going to do that. But in spite of the fact that we're doing that, there are extreme cases that people in any way, shape, or form, that you look at the new planning process that we're doing, in any way, shape, or form, are damaging the interest, the public interest of the population that lives in the area. In those cases, we have to make sure the law is obeyed. And when people talk about the number of demolitions, in the last decade, it was about 100 cases a year. 40% of the buildings were of Jewish buildings, and 60% of Arab buildings. And that's in spite of the fact that there are about 20,000 illegal structures on the Arab side, and much less than that on the Jewish side. So the bottom line is, we have to make sure the law is above everything. And while saying that statement, we're replanning most of the areas, or we're starting with one of the areas, and then we'll expand to the rest of the areas. And we will only go for, my recommendation to the courts would be, only to go for the very, very harsh and serious cases that cannot be fixed under replanning of different areas of the city.
Just before we get to the next question, I want to point out we have here Justus Weiner, our chief legal analyst, who did a groundbreaking study a few years ago. One of the things I learned on this subject was that some of the land that's been stolen for illegal construction in East Jerusalem was zoned to build a clinic or zoned to build a school.
Yep,
and so you can't give municipal services to East Jerusalem population if the land is taken away by a contractor to build a 5-story building.
I'll show you some of the challenges, because people in Sil 1, 659 houses, 57, 59. We don't have full knowledge of do they all pay taxes. I've requested that data, and that data is not aligned with the current buildings. And so while there are about we believe over 4,000 buildings in the Sil 1 area, a little bit wider than that hill, there's only 2,000 registered paying taxes, and they're paying up to 50 square meters a house, which is a bit of a gap between what you see in the naked eye. So indeed, I believe not all of them are paying all their taxes by law. Second challenge we have is the legal challenge. Unfortunately, only 60% of the land of East Jerusalem is registered in the tabu, in the legal system. We have about over 40% of the areas that are not registered, so there's no proof of ownership to people. And when somebody wants to come and get a permit, the first thing that happens everywhere in the world, it's a standard procedure, you have to prove that you own land. And when you can't prove that you own the land, by definition, it's very difficult to get a license. So besides that, when people are building their houses in an illegal way, then now you have to figure out how do you build the roads. Because in anywhere you build a new neighborhood, the municipality, the government, plans the neighborhood, and in the price of land that you pay for development. Or when you want to build a house, you go to the process, then the government has to charge you extra for building the infrastructure around the house, around the neighborhood. That's standard procedure throughout the world. Now what happens when the full neighborhood is built illegally? Nobody ever charged the capital, nobody ever collected the money to develop the neighborhood. And it's even more challenging because when I want to develop Seal 1 now, if I take the money from a different pot of money, then I'll get a Supreme Court case of the folks in Rechavia, another neighborhood, saying, well, we already paid ours. It's a local issue that the local residents have to pay for the development of their neighborhood. So we now have to charge the residents, which are poor, for developing their own neighborhood. So the challenges are legal, the challenges are planning, collecting capital to invest in the infrastructure. It's a little bit more complicated than people think. But I made a decision that we're going to make that happen. So it starts with a proper planning, and then slowly but gradually collecting some capital, getting help. And what I've basically said to the world, I said to the different administrations, don't wait for a war like Gaza. That after the war, the world collected $4 billion to help build the infrastructure of Gaza. Don't wait for a war in Jerusalem. Chip in $1 billion, not $4 billion. And we will make sure that money goes to direct investment in the Arab neighborhoods to improve their quality of life, because eventually we have to charge them. And I know they're poor, so I'm raising a flag and saying that we're committed to planning the neighborhoods differently, to enabling to close those gaps. Now we have to collect, and the municipality is investing money to better plan and do things that we can and we must by law. The government is chipping in, but the order of magnitude, the big money, has to come from the residents. And that's the standard procedure throughout the world, and we're going to need help in building and promoting the quality of life of Arabs in Jerusalem.